you've done all these good things to liberalize the internet with the Pirate Bay and now Flatter, and with so many very powerful interests trying to stop what you're doing. I mean, don't you think it's a little strange that when you're trying to do all these positive things that so many people are trying to stop you?
Well, I don't think it's strange, because people are inherently, when they come to a power situation, let's take the record company bosses, they don't like to be threatened. And the Pirate Bay and Flatter and all of these things that we make are things to take away control from, small organizations, centralized organizations, and give it back to the people. And it's, of course, they're going to feel threatened and feel that their time has come.
That their version of modern capitalism and, for example, what a good version of democracy is, they're quite polarized. There's a big difference between those two.
Definitely, and they talk about democracy all the time, but they don't really understand what it's all about. So they have to adopt to today's behavior and humanity. They have to stop being oil companies. That's essentially what these big intellectual property or houses are. They're just controlling. They don't contribute anything. They don't add any value. They just sit as a middleman and take most of the money and control our cultural life, which is really bad. So we have to get rid of them. I see them as a plague, as a virus, and we do everything we can to stop them.
Really, it seems that what your interests are about now with Flatter and whatnot is actually trying to synchronize capitalism and socialism in ways that are palatable for the everyday people, the citizens in society.
Yeah, so it's kind of what we always been asking the politicians to do, like make a solution that makes it possible for us to get rid of the old way of sharing culture. And politicians are really slow. So as with the Pirate Bay, when we started technology and decided to change it, Flatter is kind of the same, that we make technology to change politics. The politicians are working one way, and the current government in Sweden is really bad because they want to censor and lock down everything. They've been very influenced, especially by the US, and with treaties like ACTA and everything coming out that want the control to be coming back to the governments, which is bad. And in Sweden we have a big, should I say, resistance movement against this, and having this open society is, it's quite easy for us to discuss these issues, and I think that's very important. So we have the Telecomics group, we have the Pirate Bay team, we have the Pirate Party in Sweden. Most of the youth parties in Sweden are very on the people's side and from left to right. So I think it's a good future coming from Sweden.
I've been involved in debates here recently. Why isn't there more investment capital coming into Sweden? And there's a lot of the usual culprits. A lot of people don't know about Sweden. But actually what I've heard is that because of the passing of the FRA Act, where all the data can be monitored that goes in and outside of Sweden, that actually that's a strong reason why foreign corporations are not wanting to put their money here, because they don't want all of their communiques that they're sending to the outside world to be monitored without a warrant by a rule like the FRA.
Yeah.
Do you think that is true? Do you think that there's resistance to invest in Sweden because of laws like that?
Definitely, and I see it coming more and more in many European countries, and the Western world is becoming more and more like the countries that they always complain about. So we see the laws surrounding censorship on the internet is almost the same in Denmark as in China today. They're censoring basically for the same reasons, which is kind of disgusting. It's just that people don't talk about it, and they all have this, we're an enlightened country, and and they have no sense of history. So just coming back 20 years ago, in Germany, it was really bad with censorship and all of that, and then we've lost track of history of some sort. So if you go to Germany, the data retention law was abolished by the Supreme Court, and they have, the history is much more vibrant there, and kind of we lost that really a lot here in Scandinavia. That's really, really bad.
Do you think we'll be able to get past the FRA law? Do you think that law will be able to be removed?
Well, if we change government, it will be removed, and then, or rather, it will be replaced by something else, I would guess. But at the same time, technology exists already today to bypass FRA. But it's very bad if we have a technology in place that we have to bypass in order to live our lives as usual. So
Are there other challenges that you find here that are impacting startups?
Maybe it would be, you know, that startups are usually not liked in Sweden for several reasons. I think as soon as you start a company in Sweden, you become very outside of the normal, what should I say, safety net at least, which is kind of bad.
So you're punished for risk taking here, is that?
Yeah, but not punished. I think it's more that we have a system in place which is socialist in the ground. I'm all for it. I consider myself being a socialist. But we need to find some way to do startups the Swedish way, and we don't have that today. So people who want to do startups look at the US, look at you know, England and so on, and want to do a startup. They complain about share capital being too high to start companies in Sweden. But essentially, it's all about that we haven't really adopted to the startup way of thinking and made a Swedish version of that.
Do you think it's important for Sweden's future that you become an more entrepreneurial society?
I don't like the word entrepreneur. I think that we have a huge history in Sweden of inventors, and I think inventors are just the same as an entrepreneur, really. We should rather use that term. I think that we should just, as I said before, we should organize in a Swedish way, which is more adaptable to society. And I think we will always be, like every nation, have lots of good ideas, and it's not very boundaries and the borders are not that important, really.
I too find so many great ideas here. For example, back in America, everyone thinks they're going to grow up and be a rock star or a millionaire, and therefore there's a lot of bad ideas that are out in the public domain, and there has to be huge filters to control that. But here in Sweden, I meet people who have fantastic ideas who never share them with anyone. But it seems that when it comes to monetizing the ideas and building the large companies here, there's something missing. So.
No, I think it's just the bridge between the social democratic Sweden finding, you know, how to cope with that, because with new technology you know, everything goes much faster, and the old system works with old technology, but the new version needs to find its way.
But you think there's progress, or?
Yeah, I think so, and I see, for instance, a very simple example is that we've started companies in Sweden that only that employs people that has their own ideas, and all money they bring in, they can take out a salary, and they give the normal social welfare network and all of that. And people join together and form these companies. Someone takes care of administration, and you know, it's a more Swedish version to do it. So you have some form of safety net, and you can still do things you believe in.
Okay. So the bridges are being built. They're just not all completed yet.
Yeah, but I think it's also very important to you know. You do one thing in a certain way in the US. We shouldn't do the same in Sweden, because then you would lose, you know, the good things about Sweden, and it would just be pancake all of it.
Exactly. There's a unique model for everyone, isn't there?
Definitely, and I think that's probably why there's, you know, in the US, if you have an idea, you start a company. In Sweden, you think about the idea for 10 years before you start a company. So the bad ideas are there, but they just don't pop up because people are more scared of talking about them because they know they're bad.
Perfect. Well, Peter, I want to thank you for coming on Northern Lights, and
thank you too.
Your time is much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.